What is up, everybody? Welcome to the fireplace, where the conversations are fire. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great show lined up for you. So hit me up in the comments. Come on in the room. Listen, you really want to pay attention today. You want to ask questions today because today's guest is one of the best at what he does. But before we start, as always, let me do my shout outs. Shout out to Alicia Way. Dope overlays, yes. Shout out to Lou Rogers, video, audio, visual. He is our videographer. Shout out to Green Legion for helping us promote the fireplace. And then I want to do a big shout out. As you can see, I'm in a little bit of a different studio. Big shout out to my brother Keith Pelzer. I had to move, so my studio is down. I'm in Keith's studio. But because of Keith, listen, I'm streaming instead of dreaming. Yes. So big shout out to Keith Pelzer. And just in case you didn't know, this podcast is being brought to you by Ecamm, virtual software made for Mac that carries your message across the world. Okay, it's time to bring in today's guest. His name is Mario Henry. He is president/CEO of the U.S. Housing Exchange. He and the U.S. Housing Exchange have partnered with MWR Financial. That's Making Wealth Reality. Ladies and gentlemen, out of Houston, Texas, the one and the only Mr. Mario Henry. Come on in, Mario. What's up, man?
Man, what's going on, bro?
Listen,
let me get my battery plugged
yeah, get yourself straight. Get yourself situated.
Get myself straight. Yeah, bro. It's good to be here, man.
Get yourself situated in your studio there. You look a little blurry.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Turn that light on. I'm trying to figure out why I'm so blurry.
Okay, well, we can't have you blurry, man. We need to get you straight. We don't want you blurry.
Okay, let me try to see what's up.
Yeah.
All right, but it's good to be here, man.
You
it's
good?
To be here. Kind of.
What's
Can
happening?
You hear me well?
Yeah, you're fine. You're great.
Okay.
What's happening? You all right?
All right. Oh, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm just here trying to be able to make certain moves to keep accelerating, keep getting us to the next level.
Yeah. I like the way you said us. Yeah. Mario always looks out for me, y'all. He always looks out for me, and I thank God for him. Thank God for good friends. I don't need a whole crew. I just need a few. That's all. I don't need, you don't need a whole crew. You need just a few, right? And if you have a few true friends, then you're blessed. And I'm blessed because Mario Henry is one of my true friends. Listen, we want to get this thing started. I want you to tell your story because, the fireplace is about, the challenges of life and then the triumphs that follow. So I don't want people to think that you just one of these cats in the financial business and you're in the housing business and, you've never had to go through anything in your life. But this started out, your whole journey with this endeavor has started out through adversity. So why don't you start out telling people your story, how that whole thing began? You were in the league just like me. Maybe you didn't spend as much time, but you had a little money coming in and then then some things went sour, and that's what actually prompted you to move into this arena. Why don't you tell the people your story?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm originally from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, so obviously we were neighbors, with us being in Mount Laurel and you being in Mount Holly. So
Mm-hmm.
you had a very influential part, whether you knew it or not. As a young wide receiver in high school, you were already in the league. By the time I was in high school,
Right.
and I got a chance to watch you, and when you and Franco and people like that was in our county, you guys were like the big brothers. You guys are the guys we were trying to emulate.
Uh huh.
So I didn't have a long career because I kind of was a journeyman. I went to University of South Carolina, was there for track and football. Left South Carolina, transferred to Rutgers,
Mm-hmm.
lost a year of eligibility back then. So I had to sit out, lost a year. Really only had one good year to start, and then at Rutgers, we weren't really that publicized that well. So I had a lot of the intangibles, but I didn't have a lot of footage and things like that. So
Right.
famous story that I always tell people is I had the fastest 40 time in the country coming out of high school. I mean,
Oh, that
college. Got
wait a
to the
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a
combine,
minute. Wait a minute.
depended upon my agent.
Wait a minute. That was before me. That was before me, right?
Oh, bro. I had my seed time going into the combine was 4.3 flat.
Okay, well,
that was my seed
okay,
time.
well, let's get this. Let's get the record. Let's get the record straight. Let's get the record straight. Listen, here's what happened with me with the combine. Now, and this will tell you the story, and then you can keep moving on. I just want to put this clear, make it clear on the record. I ran my junior year, in between my junior and senior year, at the University of Nebraska with the pros there. And the first time I ran the 40, I ran a 4.36. So they were hitting their watches. They thought their watches were broken. So they said, no, you got to run again. So I ran it again, and then I ran a 4.23. Then they said, okay, you're good. You don't have to run anymore. Then they invited me to the combine. And when I got to the combine, I didn't have to do anything at the combine.
Of course not.
They said, you know what? Just take your physical. You sit down and watch everybody else. And then I ended up being the first pick in the draft. So,
of course,
I was before your time, though.
I was like in 7th grade during that time. That debacle that was going on there. But what happened to me, I had that seed time, and I depended upon my sports agent to get me some sneakers.
Right.
And it was a snowstorm in Indianapolis, and about an hour before I was scheduled to run, the guy brings me some sneakers, but they were a size 13, and I wore a size 12.
Okay.
So I'm there getting ready to run my race or run the 40,
Uh-huh.
and I'm running like with some clown shoes flopping. That extra inch will tear you up when you
slowed you down.
So
that's a 10th right there.
I ran a 4. I run a 4.5, and my vertical I had a 41. I only jumped a 38. It still was one of the highest jumps.
Right.
But when you don't have stats, you got to have some elite type of performance.
Right.
So to make a long story short, I wasn't drafted. And you know what it's like going into training camp as a rookie free agent.
Yeah.
You're not slated to be making the team.
No.
Yeah. So then what happened? What happened from there? I went through, chose New England, and so when I was going in, you were leaving New England when I was going in.
Okay.
And then you know how it is where you got 80 people in training camp, you're fighting to try to make a roster. I made the roster, and then what happened is you're not really making that money like the rest of the guys on the team.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Cavalier Z24 my rookie year up until I made the team.
Right.
So then I'm there going in with the Cavalier Z24, people with Benzes, Lamborghinis, everything. And it just wasn't it, man. It was like I was there, but I wasn't there.
Don't try to keep up with the Joneses.
I learned real fast about the caste system.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I learned about the caste system. I learned about the guys who were the millionaires versus the guys like me that was carrying shoulder pads and everything. So,
right.
I got out of the NFL, not willingly, just couldn't get back on a team after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent about 4.5 years trying to get back into the NFL.
Wow.
And in that period of time, I went broke. So it wasn't a lot of money that I had, but it still was a lot of money compared to other 24, 25-year-olds.
Right. Right.
So I shouldn't have been broke so fast. But in my mind, I was like, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Put me on a team. I can make all the catches. I can do everything. And then it just didn't work out. So I
Right.
got a chance to understand that NFL stood for not for long.
Mm-hmm.
And so then
Mm-hmm.
that was my journey that I knew I needed to become. But then when you're broke, I had to do an analysis. When I finally gave out playing, I had to do an analysis of why did this happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
happened? And at the conclusion, it came back to the fact that I did not understand finances in the way on how I should.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't understand. It wasn't taught to me at Rutgers. It was not taught to me at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come from parents that were rich.
Right.
So then
Right.
now what pretty much happened, I had to learn. I had to learn, and I really wanted to understand the institution of how all this stuff worked. And the break point on what got me into finance, I was trying to buy my first car,
Right.
where they actually was going to use my credit report, because when I made the team, they only took my contract. They
Right.
didn't even run my credit.
No, they
So
don't.
I went into the
Yeah.
dealership. They was asking me all these stories and everything like that. What was it like? They saw my jewelry. I looked the roll and walked in as Mr. Henry. They ran my credit and tossed me my keys, and they called me Mario.
They call you Mario. Here, Mario. You
I
can
went
go.
from Mr. Henry to
Yeah.
Mario
To
within
Mario.
an hour,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
was embarrassed. And when I got in that car, I vowed that I would study these bureaus, these credit bureaus that's
Right.
giving me a score, and that score is dictating whether or not I can buy, and if I could buy, determining the interest rates that I got to pay for everything.
Right. Right. And that's how you started Credit Evolution, because when you first started, I mean, you're at the U.S. Housing Exchange now. You moved up and just continued to expand. But when you first started out, you started out with Credit Evolution, a company that was enhancing at tremendous rates people's credit. That was something that was, I thought at the time, was very phenomenal. But people like you didn't, and I didn't. People just don't understand how credit works and the do's and don'ts about credit in regards to how to maintain or actually acquire a high credit score and how to maintain a high credit score. So, can you talk to everybody about that? We have people who are signing in. Sister Davis is signing in. She's talking about good topic. Let me put that up on the
Yes,
screen.
yes.
She's people are coming in. They're going to be asking questions. So why don't you talk to us about credit right now, and then we're going to move on into what you're doing right now. But talk to us about credit, do's and don'ts, and what makes a credit score strong, and how we can use that to benefit ourselves in our life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I apologize. I don't know why my
You're
screen is.
freezing
I
up.
don't know.
Yeah, it's
I don't
okay.
understand why it's freezing up. But
Well,
as
your
long
voice
as
is
I
your
guess people can hear me.
yeah, your voice is strong, so it's going to get people's attention. But don't worry about it. That's
All
modern
right.
technology. That's what happens.
Yeah, yeah. So you got these three bureaus, and they don't have governmental authority.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody opt. You didn't opt in, but somehow, some way, they hijacked everybody's ability to be able to get credit. They did it, and they're publicly traded companies, and their information a lot of times is erroneous. And then it's like the secret of Coca-Cola to understand how the score is even accumulated.
Right.
Then it even makes things even more crazier. You go to Credit Karma, you think you got this great score, but then when you look at your mortgage FICO score, it's 100 points lower sometimes.
Right.
And so
Right.
there's no one out there teaching us the way this stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody teaching us that if we go over 25% on our credit card on the limit to what we owe, we're getting a ding for that. And why is that? We know why is that? Why, if somebody's running our credit and it's an inquiry, why is that lowering my credit score? So it's an insane setup that they actually do. They don't teach us, and they ruin our credit, as soon as we can get it, because you got the credit card companies start feasting on
Right.
a lot of the collegiate people. I
Mm-hmm.
know I know they got me at Discover for having some pretty girls in a bikini and some beer and hot dogs when I was a freshman at South Carolina.
That's how you get a
And
freshman in
I went
South
and got that
Carolina.
Discover card.
Beer,
And
hot dogs, and pretty girls.
oh yeah, bro, pretty girls, and you got Mario right behind you. So it's a system it's definitely a system, and it's a caste system because people with lower economic or don't come from a lot of money,
Right.
the rich kids are going to spend their money and their parents are going to cover that. When you're in there and your parents are giving you $20 for the month, just as spending money, I mean, you don't have a lot of money to be able to take care of certain things. So a lot of our credit's ruined before we start. Then
Right.
we got a lot of parents who have low financial IQs, and they're ruining their kids' credit because they're putting electric bills and phones in their kids' name, and their
Mm-hmm.
kids' credit are ruined before they're even 18. So
Mm-hmm.
when we actually met. And it's funny, I doubt everybody's going to be able to see this because of the way my camera's freezing up, but we actually met at the Bills game when we played the Bills in Miami.
Right. Yeah.
And
You're
I
going to
met
show that
you coming
football.
out of the
Yeah.
tunnel.
Right. Right.
I was going to show the football, but my camera freezing.
You got to get. Listen, we're gonna have to work on your equipment, man. We're gonna have to get you set up.
Well, you know what?
With
Know
Ecamm and get you the right cameras, get you the right setup, so that because this
yeah.
this
I'm
message
not
is
gonna-
this message is something that people need to hear, and they need to hear it on a consistent basis. So this is not the only time you're going to be on the show, but the next time you're on the show, I promise you, I'm going to have you set up right.
Yes, absolutely. But so when we met back then. We exchanged pleasantries,
Right.
talked about back home and everything. But then what happened? I was with the guy, and then there was a raffle to see who was going to take 5 celebrities out to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not remember this, but I paid $1,200 to take you to lunch,
Wow.
and we went to Red Lobster.
Oh yes, yes,
And
I
we
remember
talked.
that. Yes, that had something to do with
$1,200 I
Vandy
paid.
Coulter, right? It was with Vandy Coulter.
With
Is that
Vandy
correct? Yes.
Coulter.
Yes, yes.
So we did an event, and then I was like, and that's what I try to tell people is knowledge and network is invaluable. Because that $1,200, we done made hundreds of thousands of dollars together.
Yes, yes.
But
We did connect
now,
then.
when we connected, and then I started talking, and then we started talking about credit, and then I fixed your credit back then.
Right.
And then then you were like, come into my congregation, and then that kicked in. Then we became this force on WRD. We'd go on there, we'd start talking and educating people about credit.
Yes.
And then before that, then we got into housing.
Yes.
And we didn't know what we were doing that much.
No.
We made a lot of mistakes.
we thought we were going to be
a lot of mistakes.
We thought we were going to be the black Moses and the black Aaron, although Moses and Aaron are black. But we thought we were going to be black Moses and the black Aaron, saving all the black people from credit, from bad
That's what we
credit.
thought.
Yeah.
That's what we thought.
You were Moses. You were going to be Moses. I was Aaron, though.
That's funny.
I wasn't Moses. You were
Moses was less than 2 miles away from his destination and traveled for about 20 years trying to find it.
Well, that kind of seems like what we've been doing.
Moses, I was lost. I was lost, and I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Hey.
So we tried a lot of things.
Right. Yes.
We tried a lot of things. We got into the housing. We started helping people. We ended up being on Action News, and then less than a year later, we were on news for a different reason. We were on news because we had people trying to sabotage our business.
Right.
So we took a 360-degree turn. We've done programs and seminars in churches trying to educate the parishioners about how credit worked. We was talking to anybody that would listen to us, and this was before credit was even a thing. We're dating back 15 years on this.
We were ahead of the game for sure. Yeah.
Irvin, everything with me started with credit, because you want to make money and you want to be wealthy, the first step is other people's money. When you want to do something, you can't use your own.
Right.
You can, but it's stupid. You want to leverage other people's money.
Right.
And the credit and those bureaus dictate your leverage. So then I started to understand, what could a company do? What can't they do? Go ahead, bro.
No, I was going to say,
go ahead.
We're going to get into what you're doing now, but what I want you to do is, because you kind of hit on it just then. We had the solution. We had the formula. We still have the formula with Credit Evolution, and it was, I believe, to be a foolproof solution. But the issue was where it fell apart. The problem was the people, and the people did not follow directions. There were things that they were supposed to do When they got their credit report, they were supposed to send it to us because we can't get your credit report. Back then, we couldn't get your credit report for you. You had to send for it, and it came to your house in a plain white envelope. So you were supposed to take that envelope and get it to us. People were paying us for the for doing the services, but they would get that envelope and throw it away, and then 2-3 months later, when their credit score didn't change, they're blaming us for taking their money and not doing anything. No, you didn't do your part. You didn't do your part. And that's one of the things that causes, even now, the system that we have in place, that you have in place, causes it to fail, where people don't follow directions. They don't get the directions. You give them to them, but they don't follow the directions all the way through. They fall off somewhere along the line. Before we move into to the housing exchange, the U.S. housing exchange, tell people, because you mentioned it earlier, tell people the correct way to use a credit card.
Absolutely.
This is something that people just don't know.
Before I get to that, before we leave football, I'm going to mention something.
You're going to stay with
when
football?
we played, I'm going to transition, but I'm going to make a football analogy.
Okay, go ahead.
When we played, did we not have a playbook? And in the playbook, it had all the plays that we had to do for different situations.
Right.
And then we had blitz adjustments based upon what the defense did. We might have to change on the fly.
Right.
And then even sometimes in the game where our game plan's not working, we're getting our butts kicked, you got to come back and say, you know what? Forget everything we practice. We got to do something different, and we got to make an adjustment.
Right.
Now, in life, people don't have no plan. They're not following the playbook. We had to study the playbook. If we ran a 12 back to 10 curl, did that mean 13? Did that mean 11? They're going to look and be like, if I run 11 yards, the quarterback wasn't ready to throw it. If I go 13 yards, the quarterback got sacked.
Right.
So that's how exact everything is in football. Mm-hmm. And so what I had to come to a conclusion that it's an exact. Everything is exact, and you gotta be able to execute. You can't in the NFL. You know, like I know. You try to be in Giant Stadium. You look back to catch that ball. You going out there for a fly. All you could look back when you look back at the ball was lights. Right. You didn't even see the ball.
Right.
You saw lights, and you gotta stay blinded until you see this little shadow, and then you keep looking at the shadow, and then now you can see the ball at the last second. But that's what my point is. I can't go out there if I didn't see the ball, drop it, and tell people, you know what, I couldn't see the light was in my eyes. Nobody trying to hear that.
Right.
But we live with excuses. Okay? Now, a credit card, going to what you stated, a credit card is a tool. It could be used for good, and it could be used for bad. Most of us end up using a credit card, which is something to where you're paying something called compound interest.
Pay attention, people.
Interest on interest on interest.
On interest.
That's how a $50 payment on something. And this is the part that kills me. You go to the department store, they tell you, hey, if you use this card, we're going to give you a 30% discount. You use the card, you pay $50, then you make the minimum payments on the $50. Then that same charge cost you $485 because you're paying the minimum payments on it for about 2-3 years.
Right.
So that's the system of why we can't get out. You don't buy anything that's going to depreciate. You use your credit card for emergencies, and emergency is a very broad definition.
Right.
So you got to be able to limit the emergencies. You see what I mean? You got to limit that. And us as people, we end up thinking about entertainment. Mm-hmm. That's our thing, you know. People are like, I'm talking to a client, we buying a house for them. Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't get this thing yet because we're going to Florida. Like, you going to Florida and you broke?
You're going to charge it?
You know, the kids and everything. I was like, really? You need to tell your kids the truth.
Right.
We don't have it right now.
Right.
We can't do that.
You
right
can't
now.
charge them.
You can create some.
Can't charge vacation.
They do it at Christmas time. They do it on vacations. They do everything from that. That's the first step. But now when you use that credit card, you got to use it and keep those balances below 15%, or you're going to get dinged on that credit score.
Right.
And another thing, when we look, and we're in an interesting time, Irvin, we're in a very interesting time because we're facing the first generation that's going to retire without a pension. Mm. And a pension is a guaranteed income that you're going to receive from your job.
Right.
And, for the rest of your life. And really that's going to be averaging, getting you about 2/3 of your salary.
Right.
After 1981, when the 401k was started, then now what happened after that? You don't get the traditional retirement now. Now the retirement is on you.
Right.
That's how.
Yeah. You have to invest. You have to be smart with your money.
Absolutely, you got to be real smart with your
Where did you go? Your voice
hold
went
on,
down.
hold on a second. My microphone, I hit it by accident.
Oh, you
I was
hit the
getting
mic. You
excited.
getting excited? I'm getting excited.
Yeah,
But
I hit the
listen,
microphone. I hit the
listen.
microphone.
Let me. And I believe I remember this from when I was working with you with Credit Evolution. We were going back from church to church and trying to save people. Credit cards can be a good thing, meaning if you use them properly. Now, to charge things on a credit card is not bad. It's when you don't pay them off or you pay the minimum. That's when it really hurts you, because if you're over 25% of your max, then that's when it dings you. But tell me this, is one of the proper ways to use a credit card is like if you're buying groceries, if you're paying your electric bill, you're paying your water bill, you're paying your cable bill. You take those bills that you're going to pay every month, the bills that you normally pay every month, use your credit card to pay those, okay? And then at the end of the month, write one check for all of those bills to the credit card company. Now it's like taking a loan out and paying it off. And that is a proper way to use a credit card, and that will actually help to boost your credit score. Am I not correct?
Okay, so you're about 50% correct,
Okay. What's
because
the other
what you're
50%?
speaking upon is getting a secured credit card.
Uh-huh.
50% is when you get an unsecured credit card. That means the credit card company gave you a limit. So
Right.
you don't want to pay groceries with the credit card,
Okay.
because you're going to be paying a mafia interest rate
Mm-hmm.
on even if you're going to be paying it off at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Better to use the secured credit card,
Right.
because you're putting your own cash into an account with the credit card. Then you use that credit card to be able to use that, and then that's building your credit card for your gas purchases
Right.
and things like that.
Okay.
When you use an unsecured credit card, you're buying it with their money, and then with their money, you're going to have to pay. It's a little bit different. So yes, that is a correct way to do it, using the secured credit card,
Secured.
because you're
Okay.
funding it with your own money, and then you're using it, and then you going in from there.
Right.
But
Right.
it's something to where once we get in and you look, you got to ask yourself, especially if you're renting, you got to ask yourself, why am I paying someone else's mortgage payment every single month?
Mm-hmm.
Every single month, you're going to write a check and you're going to pay for your landlord's mortgage instead of your own. So you got to look to see what is the hurdle that's in front of me. And that is going to be the credit, because if you got the income
Right.
and then you're in a situation, we just talked about what's going to happen to you when we're in the last generation that's not going to have a pension.
Mm-hmm.
You got the average person, bro, got about a net worth of about 4 or 5 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how do you ever stop working? If I retire at 65, then where's this money going to come from
Right.
to pay rent in my 90s? Where's this money going to come from? Because you didn't save enough money, and then you're dependent on Social Security, which is about 80% less than what you're going to be making in your earning years.
Right.
So a lot of times people don't have that playbook like what we did when we were studying.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be able to use credit in the correct way, but you also got to make that first step in firing your landlord.
Fire that landlord. Listen, I just got booted out of my place. As I told everybody earlier, that's why I'm in Keith's studio, because my studio is down. And man, that was a bad feeling. I owned houses because I played in the pros and then ended up going to prison, getting divorced, and couldn't own a house when I came out of prison. So I had to rent. And let me tell you, my first landlord was decent, but I had the second landlord I had. I was paying the rent. He wasn't paying the mortgage. So we got kicked out of that house by the bank.
Wow.
Wasn't our fault. It was his fault. And I went to prison. He was taking my money and not paying his mortgage. That's theft, I think. And then so we finally moved into somewhere else. And this just recently, the landlord said we had to move out. I'm selling the place. He had told us we were going to be able to stay there as long as we want. He said, I'm going to sell the place. We had to get out, man. And it's such a deflating feeling when you can't move according to your own plan. It was like I was a slave, or I'm a slave to my landlord, and I have to jump when he says jump, and I'm helping him. I'm paying the mortgage, his mortgage, I'm paying rent, but it's paying his mortgage. I'm helping to benefit him. I'm setting him free financially, but I'm in financial bondage because I'm still renting.
Absolutely. And that's the problem with most people you just are thinking about it. Most people are unconscious and they're walking around in like a stupor because as long as they can afford it, they look in
Right.
something with their affordability, but they're not building any equity.
Right.
So then if
Right.
your property is going up in value, all you're doing when you rent is you're paying money and then that allows you another 30 days to be able to live there.
To live
And
there.
once you stop paying that money, there is no 30 days that you got to go and then you're not building up anything.
Right.
So if
Right.
I buy a house and it starts in and it's worth 150 and then after 20 years it's worth 350, that's $200,000
Yes.
that you have it's valued at. And we're not going to get any of that because of the fact that you got someone else's asset and then you paid on it
Right.
and then it increased in value and that guy is getting that 200,000.
Right.
You getting zero. And
Right.
they're not going to remember all those months that you paid. If something happened, they're going to say, "Oh, you don't have this month's rent.
Gotta
We're
go.
going to start to evict you." That's the reason. That's one of the main reasons why you will never be able to get off the treadmill if you don't continue to be able to start to use a higher financial IQ.
Tell us about the U.S. housing exchange because that's what that's all about. Firing your landlord, uh, becoming an owner of your own real estate, your own house, and
Yes.
beginning to build wealth from there.
U.S. Housing Exchange is a platform that I created because I knew that there's a whole bunch of motivated sellers out there that would love to sell their property. And I know that there's a whole lot of people out there that's motivated buyers that they would love to buy, but they can't because of their credit or whatever the reason is. So U.S. Housing Exchange, as when it's fully ready, because we're developing an app that's there, it's going to be like its own dating service, if you will, between people who want to buy and people who want to sell. And we're creating a match. But typically, a motivated seller gets taken advantage of because somebody's going to want to lowball them. They're going to want to do all this other kind of nonsense. And sometimes they don't have the money to fix up their properties, etc.
Right.
So then on the other side, a motivated buyer, they get stuck renting because they want to buy, but they can't. So with U.S. Housing Exchange is a system to be able to bring both sides together. And then we got investors, which we call capital contributors, that can actually now be a part to partner with us and then buy the credit challenged person a house. Okay. Then what we do is we will fix their credit while they're in there temporarily renting. So
Wow.
our program is 6 months or less. Okay. Now it's funny. Jay-Z and Will Smith just bought and paid $165 million to a rent-to-own company, and their program is 1 to 2 years. And then we don't know how much money that they have to put down. Our program, you put down 3.5% of the purchase price of the home. Most rent-to-own programs, you're putting minimum 10 to 20% down on what the purchase price of the house is going to be. So then they're not having a great incentive for you to be that owner because if you fail, they can go to somebody else and get another 10, 20%.
Right. Right.
If you
Right.
if you succeed, they don't even have a credit system in the back to be able to help you overcome the bad credit.
Right.
They say that we're giving you pointers. So U.S. Housing Exchange is going to be the type of program that will allow you not only to help you move into a property, but we're also developing the platform with Making Wealth Real to where we can help increase the financial IQ dealing with the credit, reducing your payable taxes.
Right.
Because when you're a W-2 wage earner, you pay the highest taxes in the world. Okay, there's nobody going to pay more taxes than the guy who gets a W-2 at the end of the year. So what happens is a lot of times when people can own a business, even if it's a small business, even if it's a network marketing business, it qualifies you to get small business exemptions.
Okay.
So we want to help people not only get into a house. That's the first step is fire your landlord. But the second step is we want to help people reduce the money that you're going to give Uncle Sam.
Okay.
Reduce the money so we can increase your take-home pay.
Who wants
That's
to pay
one of
less
the
taxes?
first
Yeah.
parts.
Who wants to pay
Second
less
part,
taxes? Me.
why would you want to pay the government more taxes on what you want?
That's
So
right.
you got to understand the game, and that's when people will change their political status just so they can believe one party you're going to pay less taxes than the other party.
Mm-hmm.
But then what if you could end up paying less taxes even than the people that want to pay less taxes? That's the small business owner.
Right. Right.
So we managed to have people be able to start a company for less than $200. So then for less than
Nice.
$200, you can start your own financial services consultation company that's going to help every single other W-2 wage earner to be able to reduce their taxable income. That's step number one.
Mm-hmm.
Step number two is increase the credit, because we're going to get your credit good enough for you to get into a house.
Okay.
But you want to get that credit score to where you get over that 700.
Right.
Because once you can get under 700, then now you can end up leveraging even more, because then now you can qualify to get an SBA loan. Now you can qualify to be able to get that business that you always wanted to do.
Right.
Everybody told you how great your ribs are. So then why aren't you being able to leverage to get a truck that's serving ribs, or whatever your talent is?
Uh-huh.
We are missing so much talent,
Right.
because we are stuck in W-2 jobs and we can't leverage credit to do the things that we're trying to accomplish. So then that's step number two, is we need something to continue to help us with our credit.
Right.
Step number three is we can't give the bank all that interest. Do you know on 30-year mortgage, do you know you're going to take 18.5 years before you're paying more principal than interest on a 30-year amortization schedule? So we also have a software program that will bypass that interest and attack principal.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of 30 years being able to pay off your house, we can have people in a third of that time paying off the house. But then now, as we increase our financial IQ, you don't keep the house paid off. You get that equity out as your property increases. And then now you're controlling your home equity yourself. And we show you how to do that.
I was going to
Because
say,
we got to create a pension. Remember, there is no pensions anymore.
right. People will say, they'll put up a big question mark. And please, if you're listening, ask questions. Put them in the comments. We'll put them up, and Mario will answer the questions for you. This is free financial advice. Listen, you need to be paying attention. You need to ask questions. You need your questions answered from someone who knows what he's doing in this field. So Mario, you're saying don't pay your house off. Now that's something that people are like, what? Don't pay my house off. That's what I'm trying to do. That's why I'm making mortgage payments. I'm trying to pay my house off. What do you mean don't pay my house off? Tell people why what's the advantage, or what is the strategy for not paying your house off?
Okay, so if you have a house, would it not be considered an investment?
That is an investment. Yes. Appreciate.
Yes or no?
Something that appreciates. Yes, it is that.
Okay,
it is
so
an investment. Yes.
It appreciates.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's going up in appreciation and will probably more or less double in price every 20 years or so,
Yep.
then now what's happening is you're trying to pay off that asset that's going up in value, and then you're able to leverage that. Now, I'll put a disclaimer in there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't pay it off. You don't get your house paid off to do something stupid like take the kids to Disney World and go on shopping sprees. I'm not stating that. But you have equity that's in a house that's tax-free that can be used to start your business, can be used to flip a property, can be used to be able to do a lot of things that's there to make you more money. That's what you call an arbitrage. Big Scrabble word right there.
Arbitrage.
So what an arbitrage is what banks do. Banks will lend you money, but then where they're getting a lot of their money is their depositors. So then when I get a CD, which is a certificate of deposit, the bank might give me, if I'm lucky, 0.8% interest on that CD. But I might got to lock my money up for 5 years to get 0.8% interest. But guess what? Inflation's at 2.5%, so you're actually losing money.
Banks
so it's
making
a
money.
foolish investment on the CD.
Yes.
People do it.
Mm-hmm.
Banks making money because they're going to take that same money at 0.8 and they're going to lend it to somebody else. Some guy getting it at 6-7%, and then banks make their money in between that. Mm-hmm. So once you can be able to understand leverage, then now you got to get your asset. You got to get the asset by firing your landlord. You got to reduce your taxes. You got to pay the minimum amount of interest. You got to be able to now control that home equity. Because if I get my home equity out on one, I'm buying my second property. I want to build a portfolio. All my clients, our goal is to get them 10 investment properties by the time they retire. Because if they're able to get those 10 investment properties, and that's without us having your transitional housing program, which we can touch on a little bit, later on.
We don't want to spring that
on
them
yet. What it does is we want a house.
We don't want
I just gave a little tease.
Yeah, no, that's it. Don't tease it anymore.
What happens now is what happens is that you want to create that portfolio. You want to create that portfolio of properties owned. Having the paid off house in exchange for not making that $1,200-$1,300 payment. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do with that $1,200 that you're not paying the mortgage with? What are you going to do? You're going to redirect that money into some debt. So instead of that, use the money that you're getting for leverage. Mm-hmm. But we can't have that conversation if you're taking 30 years to pay off the house.
Okay.
So my strategy, we want to pay off the house every 10 to 12 years, extract the equity out. We're going to place that money in the areas to where you could get tax-free growth from that without stock market risk. So there's a lot to this thing, man. This is like the Matrix. And there's going to be people that get it and they want more. I'm going to give them more. I'm going to give them what they want. But it starts with this first step.
Right. The credit. Starts with the credit. Owning a home. Owning a home.
Starts with the credit.
Yes.
And owning a home.
Mm-hmm. And then building equity in that home.
It's something where you got to look at everything.
Starting the credit, owning a home, building the equity in the home, and then using that equity to expand. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so that's where certain things are. Yes. We got people going into debt with colleges. I mean, spending, I don't know how many thousands of dollars for their kids to get an education. Mm-hmm. I don't knock that. But is the educational institutions teaching you anything about making money? Is they teaching you anything about how to preserve credit? Are they teaching you anything about leverage? So how's your kid with this education, with no pensions that they have for you? Mm-hmm. And then after their career is over, if we retire at 65 and we die at 95, how are we going to maintain those 30 years of bills in the future? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How are we going to do that?
And a big part.
Math, that's just math. Now, you don't hear. Go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say just a big part of what you do, and this is something that I really admired about you in all of the knowledge that you have in this arena. But one of the biggest things that you were seeking to do was to educate the people so that not only do you get them to a point where they have great credit score, not only do you get them to a point where they're able to own their own property, but you educate them on how to keep what they acquire and not mess it up, not get to a point to where they're being foreclosed. You know, you got the house or you got the car that you always wanted, but do you know how to maintain it? And you were big on educating people that were your clients, that you were trying to assist, that that become a part of their life in terms of getting them from where they were to where they wanted to be, and education, letting people know how the system works, whether it's the credit, whether it's these mortgages, these loans, the banks, how all of that works so that they can maintain what it is they gain as far as they ground in their life and making their lives better.
Yes, absolutely. You're 100% hitting on every single thing that you mentioned there, because that's why I partnered with Making Wealth Real. That's exactly the reason why, because it gave a platform. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Making Wealth Real gives everyone a platform to where we can address those three areas right off the bat.
Right.
Because we want people to be able to own a business. We understand not everybody can quit their job. We understand that. But you want to set the foundation of what you want. So you want to be able to reduce your taxable income. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to be something to where you can not pay the bank all that interest. Mm-hmm. We want to keep on increasing the credit. So that's why when we partnered with Making Wealth Real, that was very important. All my clients, you have to be a member for me to buy you a house, or for our company to buy you a house.
How do they become a member?
If we don't increase,
how do they become a member?
You'll be able to give. You're a member. You're a member.
Well, I know I'm a member. I said I'm trying to get
contact. You can be able to get that. Well, what happens is another member, because it is a network marketing organization. A member would have to be able to give them a way to sign up. So what you should do at some point in the comments, put your link up so people can be able to see what they have to do to become a member and get access to all these services.
Okay.
So for $119 a month, you're going to be able to give yourself an instant pay raise, because you're going to be able to have the deductions necessary to be able to write off, like a business person, all these different things, and you'll probably increase your take-home pay by about $300 to $400 a month. So then now you and your spouse will be able to enjoy, if you're married, credit services, everything like that combined for this amount of money. I endorse it because it addresses every possible way that you can be able to make sure that you're financially sound. Because a lot of the things that happened, as my observance on what happened with you, it was the fact that you depended upon somebody else to give you a lot of information. And that's what that guy did. He gave you information, but that information was bastardized to his own agenda. So then that was where somebody could be manipulated when you don't understand the information yourself. Anything that I discuss, I'll show a third-party validation to be able to back up what I tell people. That's why I'm always researching, I'm always reading. And then when I get something, I'm like, I'm going to add this nugget to the equation. So that's why every single person needs this membership. I'm a member. I have a very good financial IQ because, number one, I'm getting surrounded by people who want it. You were just on my podcast 2 days ago. What did you think of that crowd as they were watching that?
It was like a feeding frenzy. It was out of control. Yeah, these people are hungry. They want to do, but again, you got to follow directions. That was one of the things you were really hammering the other night. You know, you get involved, you come up with a plan, you get involved, but then for some reason people fall by the wayside. They don't get their paperwork together. They don't follow directions. They run off and, you know, they get the credit score right, and then they go buy a car or they charge something, and they just foil the whole plan.
Well, like I said, we've been brainwashed for 12 years. The educational system educates you to become an employee. Educational system doesn't teach you to be able to stand on your own and be able to do all the things that we discussed. So first off, you got to be able to see that you're financially poisoned, because not by your own fault. Wasn't your parents' fault, wasn't anything. The system wants you uneducated. That system that's there wants you to think that all I got to do is to eliminate my debt and then I'm good. No. Dave Ramsey is bugging when he tells people that, because you never will be out of debt. You always will have groceries. You always will have cell phone bills, utility bills, property taxes. It's like, why are you telling people this nonsense? Now, I do agree with him on how he talks about how you use credit cards, but you use credit for leverage. He doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe in that as well. So you got to look and see who's teaching you and what are you cross-referencing. We don't expect people to follow us like sheep. We expect to give you information for you to study on. And if you believe that we know what we're talking about, then you plug in and get more information, but you make it right for yourself. So with the way that membership works and the way on how U.S. Housing Exchange works, you know, Irvin, we're going to have close to 8.1 million people facing foreclosure starting next month. 8.1 million. Now, in the entire 2007 to 2010, there was 2.9 million foreclosures. We're facing almost 3 times that amount, but with the COVID. So that's what I'm saying, is that there's going to be a great opportunity. Unfortunate for some people, but it is what it is.
What's happening right now with the real estate market? How people are buying homes $50,000, $60,000 over the appraised value. People are having to rent, for astronomical amounts of money per month. What's going on with the real estate market right now?
Well, part of that is people are followers. That's why we didn't have no toilet paper this time last year, because people are buying because everybody thinks that we
Because
should
somebody,
just buy,
yeah, okay.
and it's
Is it? I mean, is it
hilarious.
really that? Is it really
It's
that
hilarious
simple?
to
Are
see
we
how
really that
people fall.
silly? Are we really that? I mean, it's like, is it really
Yeah.
that simple? We're really that silly?
Yeah.
People are just following
Because
the
you're
crowd.
buying at the top of the market.
Right. Wow.
Bruh, you're buying at the top of the market. You spend $20,000 to $50,000 over asking price. Do you know how many years it's going to take you
I think
to
it's
get back
ridiculous.
to
Yeah.
break even?
Yeah, I think it's
going to take
ridiculous.
you about 9-10 years. You might as well have a 40-year mortgage by doing that. So it's the dumbest thing that people
Right.
are doing
Yeah, I
is
don't.
to buy where you're paying over asking price and everything, where in the next 6-7 months, there's going to be millions of properties that's going to devalue your property. Because
Right.
remember, a property value is only a property value based upon a recent home sale called a comp, a
Exactly.
comparable. So then now if people are getting foreclosed, they're going to sell the property at a discount because they got to get out.
That's right.
So then now they're going to lower the value of that entire neighborhood within a 1-mile radius because people aren't going to pay more for something now. They're going to be paying less for the same thing that you paid more for.
Right.
That's why it's foolish. But you get people are followers. They do those type of things. So I don't ever encourage people to pay over asking price on something because we have a recession coming and it's coming fast. By November, December, you're going to see inventory like nobody's business. So my goal is to get you into a house. Get you into a house so you stop renting. Step one.
Right.
Step two, reduce all the taxes on what you have to pay out on a month-to-month basis. Step two. Step three, once we get you on anything that you pay interest on, your car, your student loans, your house, anything, we want to reduce the interest rates that you're giving to the bank. We can do that. Then on top of that, what we want is for you to own a house. We're going to help you with that. Then we want to show how you maintain the house. Then we want to create extra streams of income. What if I told you that you could make $600 on referring anybody anywhere in the country just for us to buy that person a home? That's what U.S. Housing Exchange and MWR has if you're a member. So then now that creates an extra stream of income. Then you want to concentrate on making residual money, which means that you're making money whether you work or not. And that's weird as a W-2 employee to think, but we also want to try to create something with a lot of different ways on what we're going to do and discuss in the future is ways that we can help the general public help with housing all throughout the country and then be able to help increase their money and increase their residual money. So you have a great platform that you have. And I love the fact that you talked about what having a limited financial IQ, what it can actually do.
Mess you up is what it can do, or what it will do. It will mess you up either now or it will later. Somewhere along the road, you're going to trip on that thing and you're going to land on your face. You're going to find out that you didn't have what you needed in terms of the knowledge financially that you should have. And here is an opportunity with podcasts like this and guests like yourself for people to become educated. But let me say this about all of this, whether it's the U.S. Housing Exchange, whether it was Credit Evolution, and we never even talked about Halo, but this whole program that you have going on now with the U.S. Housing Exchange and MWR, it's like Halo on steroids. But Halo is something that evolved from Credit Evolution. But this takes discipline, people. You can't make these changes in your life and elevate yourself to a new level and do better for yourself unless you make a change. This takes discipline, and it takes discipline over time. You've got to get your paperwork together. You've got to submit your paperwork in a timely manner. You have to follow directions for those who have the plan, the game plan and the playbook, I should say. And then this process works. This system that Mario in the U.S. Housing Exchange and MWR, this process works. This system works. If you want to do better by yourself, stop renting, fire your landlord, and own your own property, regardless of what happened or caused you, or whether you've always been a renter, or if something happened in your life and caused you to lose your home and now you have to rent. It doesn't matter. This system that is in place with the U.S. Housing Exchange and MWR, it works. It works. You just have to follow directions and stay disciplined.
I'm going to hit a couple of these questions.
Do you have questions?
I'm gonna go through some of these questions that people are asking. Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Okay,
Andrew states, perfect topping at a perfect time. Go ahead.
Yeah, Andy. That's Andy. I'm gonna put it up on the screen so everybody can see it. All right, there it is. I put it up earlier, but there it is. You can address that. Go ahead.
Okay. I forgot you. You fancy pants.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
a perfect topic. A perfect topic at perfect time. It is important on how to go from conversation to applications, what he says. Please make sure that Mario gives his contact information.
So what's going to happen is Irvin will put in this thread, he will put a way that you can actually get in and actually be on his team. And when we talk network marketing, we're not talking about your grandmother's network marketing company. We're not talking about some pantyhose and vitamins. We're talking about securing one of the biggest.
Wait. We're not talking about what? We're not talking about pantyhose and what?
No, I don't know. You get these women's pantyhose and vitamins and weight loss and all. My mom been selling that stuff since the 70s, bro.
Not only are you're like one of the smartest people I know, Mario, but you can be a clown too, man. That's pantyhose and vitamins. Why do I have
it's not,
when you say that makes me, you know how your grandparents' house smell, when you go to your grandparents' house, it smells a certain way.
Mothballs?
Yeah. Like mothballs.
No, like mothballs and everything.
Listen, my mother puts mothballs out in front of her house now to keep the critters away. You go up to my mother's house and it smells like mothballs.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at another.
She still got the plastic on the couch?
No, she don't have the plastic on the couch.
So Andy, Irvin will put the contact information on how to get into the company. He'll put that in on the call.
Yep.
Go ahead, bro.
So there's another one. Dawn says, is there a remedy for a house purchased during the boom and is now undervalued?
Yes. You joined with MWR. There's a software program.
All right.
The software program is going to show you how to attack that principle using the money and debt snowball. Debt snowball means that it's going to direct you to pay certain things off, and it's going to know how much money you have coming in and what you have going out. Then it's going to tell you plans to be able to, as you pay one debt off, it's going to be telling you how to be making those principal payments. Instead of blindly sending $100 in, it's going to tell you how, when, and why to be able to pay certain things off so you can catch up and get yourself to where you can get not only to where you're not underwater, but now you can be able to start accelerating your home equity.
Nice. And for everybody who's watching, when this podcast posts, the link will be with the podcast, the posting. So you'll be able to get to MWR through the link. Okay. So I'm not going to put it up now, but when it posts, it will be there in the description with the post. You'll be able to connect then. And Richard Melton, once a person becomes a member, how long does the process take before you're able to control your progress made? Okay. How long does it take before you can control the progress you made?
Well, Richard, that's an arbitrary question because that's going to be dependent upon that individual. Mm-hmm. Because you from day one, you got access to be able to get with tax attorneys, enrolled IRS agents, old enrolled IRS agents automatically. But will you make that call? Will you do that action? Will you give them all the things that they're asking for? They're not going to come to you. You got to come to them. So then if you start doing that from day one, I would say within the first 30 days, you're going to have the most solid game plan that you probably ever have had for your financial. It's an entire financial makeover. So in every area of your life financially, we're going to have a plan in place, and it's going to be a lot different for you out there.
Nice. Here's my sister. This is my sister. Hope, she said, I'm ready. I'm ready to get in. Hope you already have my link. You already have the link. Just click on it and get in. All right. Click on it and
Click
get
on
in.
it and get in.
Get
Because
in.
today it's $100 discount on what it typically would be to enroll. It's typically $228 for you to own your own business. But they've been doing a special promotion that ends at midnight today.
All right.
And at midnight today, it's going to go back up to $228.
We will post the link right after this this podcast. Yeah, we'll put it right on the post. All right. Sister Davis says, is there a part 2 of this conversation? Yes, we're going to have a part 2, probably a part 3, and possibly a part 4, depending on how far we get. I mean, Mario and I can talk. We're brothers. We can talk about this all day long. Yeah. So we knew this hour would not be enough time to, we knew it. The hour would not be enough time to get you all the information. But again, go back and watch the podcast again. It's going to post. Watch this podcast again. If you have any questions, some of you who are writing in the comments, you have my information. You know how to get in contact with me, and you can get in contact. I'm enrolling today. Hope says I'm enrolling today. There she goes. All right. I'm going to be looking for you. Mario is going to be looking for you.
And Irving, I'm inviting you to my podcast, not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday at 8 to 9. So then we'll be able to discuss and elaborate on certain topics and everything. So
sure.
This is a journey. This is a journey of information.
Right. And I'm looking forward to that. We got to get you up to par though, man, and get your picture right and get your mic right and get those headphones off of your head and get you some in-ears like I have. See there, the in-ears? Get you straight.
Hey man, I'm a financial expert. I'm not a tech guy.
Well, listen.
I'm admittedly sitting here with my stuff from Wish.
But listen, but from Wish. Oh my God. So listen, 5 months ago, I claimed to be, I said low tech, just above no tech is what I claim to be. I'm a little more advanced, so I can get you to a place to where your stuff will look like what you see on this side. So we're going to get you right, man, because if you're going to be doing these podcasts and you're going to be representing this high-end company as the U.S. Housing Exchange is and MWR, you want your stuff to look right. You want your stuff to sound right. So I'm going to get you right, and we're going to get this thing moving at warp speed. All right?
That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, is there any more questions before we
It's my show. I say when the show is over. What do you mean? You get me to go?
Okay.
It's my show.
Man, I'm trying to be respectful.
No, it's my show. I'll tell you when it's over.
I'm being respectful, bro.
No, we're all getting ready to stop. But Mario, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, man, you know I go for it. So you know I be going for it.
You're all right with me. You're the man. So listen, thanks for being with us today. I appreciate you. Wealth of information. We just kind of scratched the surface today, but you're always awesome. And we're going to, I'll call you later on today, and we're going to reschedule you to come on, or not reschedule, schedule you to come on again, probably in the next few weeks. So everybody hold your your place.
I appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out to have me on here, and thank the listening audience. I know that when you first talked to me that you were doing a podcast, I was so happy because I was like, you need to tell your story on your story at your terms instead of letting somebody else tell your story.
Well, they're trying to tell my story.
I'm glad that you. No. You're gonna tell your story, and I'm co-signing, and I got your back from all the way back. I got your back.
And your words don't mean anything because your actions speak louder than your words, and they parallel exactly what you said. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being with us today. All right, we're gonna holler. I'll holler back at you. All right, that's going to do it for our show today. I want to thank Mr. Mario Henry, our guest, wealth of knowledge. That was a great show. We'll be bringing him back again. We're going to have to do this because we just kind of scratched the surface. So shout out to Mario. Again, my shout outs to Alicia Wave, Overlays. Shout out to Lou Rogers, Vision Audio Video, a videographer. Shout out to the Green Legion. This podcast was brought to you, if you don't know, brought to you by Ecamm. Not Mario's side. That was this side is Ecamm. Our cameras, our mic. Podcast was brought to you by Ecamm, virtual software made by Mac that carries your message across the world. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Next week's guest will be Mr. Reggie Dabbs. Yeah, if you don't know who he is, Google him. That's Reggie Dabbs, Dabbs, Reggie Dabbs. He's one of the most sought after youth speakers in the world, and he has a fantastic, phenomenal, great story. So remember, the Fireplace is where real talk about life's challenges take place and the triumphs that follow. That's what we do here. My name is Irving Fryer. Thank you for joining me at the Fireplace, where the conversations are fire. I will see you next week.